it was the reason I stopped dating. I'm sorry.
It's okay, mommy. Oh, man.
I was the only female in a lot of the rooms. I was negotiating with powerful men. My emotional disposition was unavailable. It wasn't until I had you, especially once you started having feelings, it was very unfamiliar to me. I had to call grandma, like, what is this? I was trying to learn.
What is something that hurt you that you didn't know how to connect with me?
The more I could show love, the more I was proving that you all should love me. See, look, I deserve to be a mom.
I'm very protective over my mother. I have that trait from you where I love to make people feel like they're loved.
As my daughter, you kind of like reflected that back to me, and then I was like, wow, I do deserve something different in life. I tell everybody they deserve a daughter. You showed me that I matter, and I thank you for that.
So today on the episode of Rain Check, it's really important because I have my mom here, Monique Idlett. Say hi.
Hi.
And it's important to me because most people know her as a powerhouse and a businesswoman and owns her own venture fund entitled Rain Ventures after me, just so you guys know that.
It is, it's named after you.
I know her as a mother, but deep down I also see the side that you guys see as the powerhouse, the businesswoman, the very strengthy side. So I want to take a deep dive into that, go through her childhood, what makes her have such a powerful essence, and also just dive deep into who she is today and other topics that people want to ask their mothers but can't due to any circumstances they're in, or just questions they want to have the courage to ask their mom. And we might talk about how I acted when she first started dating, but as far as it goes, Mom, I want you to tell me how you grew up. What was that like? What were your experiences growing up through your childhood?
Wow, that is a big question. I'm the oldest, as you know. Grandma was a single mom, grew up in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, in income-based project housing. So Grandma worked, even though I don't know where I got this from, but for some reason, being the oldest and knowing that Pop and Grandma weren't together anymore, I felt responsible for my family. I felt responsible as the oldest sibling. I felt responsible for Aunt Chi-Chi, Uncle Dean, even though no one ever asked me to do that. So I think a lot of my childhood was me putting on myself some type of responsibility that no adult asked me to, but yet I felt so accountable for.
Do you think it might come from, a lot of people feel like at the beginning of doing something, you feel like you need to do something, just maybe for your self-esteem, maybe for your confidence level, maybe for you to feel like you're doing something? Do you think it maybe started out from that?
I don't think so. I think, first of all, I think that I intellectually was just so curious about so many things. Grandma made us spend a lot of time as like young kids in the library. We were required to do nonfiction reading. And so I think my mind was just always curious about life, what else was out there. Grandma used to always say, we're not your circumstances. And so I just always, even as a little person, I was just always imagining and dreaming. And I think when I was 10, when I was sexually violated, I think a lot of like what I felt accountable to, and I think I automatically no longer trusted adults. So in my mind, I was my own adult.
Do you think maybe becoming such a strong woman, a businesswoman, was a mechanism of trying to run away maybe from your problems, or never looking upon something, working? When you're working, you never have the time to think. So maybe it's like if you had the chance to think upon it, you wouldn't have accepted how you really felt about it.
I mean, I think I could understand why that would be a question. I think if we think about it differently, like I could only think about it from what I was actually experiencing. I'm 10, single mom, I'm the oldest, get sexually violated, all of a sudden I'm no longer
But you said you're 10.
Yeah, I was 10 years old.
So at that age, without the single mom, without you going through life yet.
Right. But at 10, automatically, I didn't think of myself as a child anymore. Automatically, I'm thinking, I don't have a childhood anymore, right? Like, and even though I couldn't process that and say it in those words, I no longer felt the freedom of a little girl. All of a sudden, all of my thoughts were about, how do I protect myself?
And so do you see that as a defense mechanism? And also maybe like you felt as though, okay, well, I have this adult experience. Am I now just an adult? Now I have to experience life in an adult perspective.
I didn't really think very fond. I wasn't very fond of adults, actually. I thought it was more interesting that why would an adult look at me as something to desire? I didn't. And also, I think at the same time, I just felt like I needed to solve my own problems.
Yeah, and that goes into my question of like, what makes us who we are today? Because nobody is the person they wake up as. You had stuff that developed you into becoming the person you are today. So including that, obviously it shaped you. What other things do you think shaped you to who you are today? Good or bad, doesn't matter. Maybe the things that you wish didn't shape you, or you are happy that they shaped you.
I don't think I've ever looked at my life like, oh, I wish they didn't happen. I think I spend a lot of my life trying to understand, why did they happen? Or what was I supposed to learn from it? Or actually, a lot of times I never really spent too much time on my own problems. I think, to your question earlier, I think maybe that is why I spent a lot of time taking on everyone else's problems, because it allowed me to be focused on fixing and helping versus kind of like all of my stuff. But I think that at 10, then at being a teen mom, to being in college, having a son, that was a really defining moment for me. For all of my friends and even Aunt Shakira, we were all in college together. My life wasn't like the normal college student. Everything was serious to me.
And what did you see a normal college student at that time? And how did you reflect yourself to not be the normal college student?
Well, okay, I didn't live on campus. I lived across
I saw
the
your
street
apartment.
I'm across the street from Ohio State. Everyone else is living on campus. I would sometimes have to take Demetrius to class with me for my night classes. I was working 3 jobs, 2 full-time jobs and a nighttime job. So I barely slept when everyone else was going out and having fun, unless Demetrius was with grandma or Aunt Chi-Chi or Aunt Danielle would babysit. I didn't have like the normal experience. Everything for me was very regiment. Everything was very principle. And so when everyone's like, oh, you're so serious, life has always felt that serious to me. I didn't want it to be, but that's actually what it felt like. And then there was the other perspective of, I didn't want to be a statistic.
But due to all those things that you've been through, do you feel like that affected your way in how you raised your children and how you raised Frankie, Michi, and I?
I think all 3 of you received a different perspective of me as a parent. You received a different Monique and you received a different parent. Demetrius went to college with me. Demetrius started my first career with me to the point where I was at USA Today, a top executive, and he was getting kicked out of every after-school program because I was never on time to pick him up. Fast forward to Frankie you and Frankie experienced something completely different. You all had me at your disposal a lot more. It was a family business now. Now I'm married. Now we're traveling as a family. Now you all are with us all the time. Then you experienced something completely different than Frankie because you were still very vulnerable and young for the divorce. So I think that all 3 of you all got something different, but also all 3 of you all required a different type of parenting.
What parenting technique did you use on the 3 of us? Like, what's something you know is a key thing that you use on the 3 of us, or maybe the same thing that you use?
You all might see this different, but when I was growing up, we weren't really allowed to have an opinion. Or it was because I said so. It was because you were the little person and that was an adult. When I became a mom, having a voice was really important to me. And even though we don't always agree on things, I feel like I've always given your brothers, the space to say your truth. And we can agree to disagree. But I've always, in my opinion, like have created a safe space for how you feel, what's important to you. It doesn't mean that we have always agreed to things. So I do think that one of the things that I did as a parent was allow you all a voice. I think the other thing that I did, that you helped me do, was prior to you, it was me, Dad, Frankie, Michi. I am already coming as a very testosterone-driven young lady from career, being a mom with Demetrius. And so having that career-driven concept, being the only female in the room professionally most of the time, to then being the only female in the house. So it wasn't until I had you that I was changing your diaper and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this feels different. Like it wasn't, for me, all of a sudden it was like, I didn't have that feeling before, because with the boys and with your dad, it was just like, everything's just a guy thing. Work was a guy thing. And I was okay, I fit into that.
You felt like work was a guy thing?
It was. I was the only female in a lot of the rooms. So it's not, and I was negotiating all the time with powerful men. And so a lot of my demeanor and a lot of my emotional disposition was unavailable, because that's how I had to operate and navigate through life. It wasn't until I had you and especially once you started speaking, and especially once you started having feelings, it was very unfamiliar to me, where I had to call Aunt Chi-Chi and call Grandma, like, what is this? You were very sensitive. I wasn't sensitive. I was like, what is this? I was trying to learn. And so I think it wasn't until you that my parenting style I had to learn a very different parenting style.
And that's interesting, because talking about the different characteristic traits I had, what are some things you notice about me that you see yourself? You see yourself in me? Or some things that you're like, wow, I cannot believe what she's become. You're surprised about who I've become.
Okay. Surprised that you've become. Nothing that you become surprises me, and that I'm just being honest and transparent. The name Rain yourself is just so powerful. You also happen to be the daughter of two very driven, intellectual, creative dreamers that both give space for anybody to be anything that they want to be. And so everything that you do, it's not surprising to me. It's just like, oh, I can't wait to see what's next. Where do I see myself? Mostly all of you. Your mannerisms, your politeness, your thought process, your intellect. I think what I had to learn, and I called Grandma one day, like, wow, I see my drive, I want to do it myself. When I was 18, I moved and I told Grandma, I'm leaving and I'm only coming back to visit. I meant that, and it wasn't to be a negative thing, but I just wanted to go explore the world, even as a teen mom, and I just thought there was so much more for me, and I see that in you. I love your independence. I love that you love yourself. It was hard for me to see you question yourself. That was a really hard thing. That was something I had to learn how to navigate to as a mom for you. But everything, I still see you as Rain, but I do see a lot of me in you. I see a lot of your brother. I see a lot of both sides of us in you, but I also see you too.
And my brother?
No, I see you. I see you, Rain. Even though I see some similarities, I'm also able to just see you, that blended version of us that turned into you.
And that's important, because a lot of mother-daughter relationships, the mother or the daughter isn't able to see their mother or their daughter in a certain specific light. And there's a lot of questions that daughters aren't able to ask their mom, and I want to be an outlet to be able to let daughters ask their mom questions. And so my question to you right now is, I know moms make a lot of sacrifices. That's like a big thing that moms do. What's one sacrifice that you've made, or any sacrifice that you made, even if it's multiple, that you never told maybe me or any of us, that you maybe went to bed thinking, wow, I wish I could tell them like the sacrifice I made, but they just don't know?
That's a really good question. And so I think one of the biggest sacrifices, but we have actually talked about it, was, making the decision to still try to raise you all in the same community, but in separate households, divorced. That was never something that I, like, especially for a daughter, I never wanted. I knew what it was like to grow up in two separate households, my dad and grandma. And I do think that, especially for teenage years, it was the difference of kind of like how I knew how to interact with boys and relate to them or know how they should treat me. And so I didn't want you and Frankie to grow up in two separate households. So I think the biggest sacrifice was to know that I was gonna have to rebuild a company from scratch in a whole different industry. So that for me, that was important. I didn't want to keep being known as someone's ex-wife. I wanted to start from scratch. And so staying in one of the most expensive cities to keep us all close as a family so that you guys could have like normal family experiences, I think was one of the bigger sacrifices, emotionally and financially. I didn't have family here. I wanted to be next to Aunt Chichi. I wanted to be, close to grandma, at least where I had cousins and aunties and family members. And I didn't have that in Miami. And so that was a new experience for me, for sure.
I think the sacrifice I saw you make at a young age that I semi-realized at a young age was you staying in the relationship so that you could see us grow up with two parents. And so that we didn't have to go through a divorce. So that's interesting
that you knew my sacrifice already.
Well, because I see a lot of families
I'm getting so emotional.
It's okay.
Not because, we've all healed from this and we've moved on in life, but these conversations are just so important. You don't realize how important they are.
Well, because at a young age, it's weird to see your mom crying and then she says, oh no, baby, these are happy tears. I'm happy. No, everything's okay. But deep down, things aren't okay. But I don't know that because I'm young. And I see a lot of parents make sacrifices to stay with their other one just so the kids are happy. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, the happiness leaves the family because the two parents aren't happy anymore. And I think us kids, especially young kids, we tend to lose sight of the fact that our parents are also trying to love each other. But some people fall out of love. Some people just move on. Some people are going through stuff. But we see them as like mom and dad, mm-hmm. and they're together. But we don't see them as, for me, I don't see you as Monique and Timothy. I see you as mom and dad. I don't see the relationship you guys started. I don't see where you guys are at right now. So it was weird. And I remember being really upset when you guys told me you're getting a divorce. But for you, I know it was really hard because I know growing up, you used to tell me, I tried.
I do. I think we both tried in our own ways. I think that we both needed to go love ourselves individually. I think we both started very difficult lives very young. We met in our 20s, think about it. We meet in our 20s, we divorce in our 40s, 45, like that, you barely even understand yourself. And so, yeah, I think that neither one of us understood that.
That takes me into, you're getting divorced when you're in your 40s. And then I know you as such a big lover girl. That's where I get a lot of my characteristics from.
Well, let's I know what you mean by lover girl, but let's just say.
Lover girl, I mean she's just she loves love.
Yes,
my mom loves
yes.
love.
I
She's
do.
a big romantic person at heart. We watch literally romantic movies almost every other night. If I come sleep with her, she's like, "Ring, come watch movies with me." I'm like, "What are we gonna
I
watch?"
love love.
A love movie. And she loves seeing people in love. And for her, I think for you, maybe it was hard finding love, getting divorced at that age, because it's like, how is that trying to get into a relationship at that age? I'm not at that age, but how was it?
How was it? It was interesting. I didn't realize all the rules are different. I didn't realize that, there's no dating in the same manner. There's no dating with intention. Like my understanding of what dating was versus what the new version of dating, even for people in my age bracket, it just was very different. The access to social media, I'm still a lady and I want to be pursued. That kind of changed. So many things changed. But you know what was the most important thing? I changed. And I realized that even when I got divorced, I was repeating the same pattern of making myself like I didn't matter. My voice didn't matter. And I was like, wait a minute, I actually this is the point. This is the point, is to discover myself. And, I call this stage of my life Monique.
And so at first, because you did introduce me to one of the boyfriends, and I made it horrible for my mom. I made it absolutely horrible. I mean, I treated that man horribly. I didn't even like to look him in the eye. I treated his kids great, but I did not like the fact of seeing my mom with another person, because my dad, and this could be relatable to a lot of girls. I've met a lot of friends of mine who their parents get divorced, and as soon as their dad finds somebody, it's like, okay. But the mom, it's like we have our mom at such a high pedestal that once they introduce us to somebody that they're not married to, this other person who's also single is like, why are you single? Why are you trying to look at my mom? Like, it's weird, especially because I've seen people look at my mom like, oh, your mom's cute. Like, no, I don't want you to see that. And it's different. And why do you think that kids hold their moms up to this high pedestal of different than dads, of like, well, your mom can't be dating somebody, your mom can't have a love life, but your dad can. And it's okay if your dad does, but your mom needs to be the mom who's always doing everything for you at all times, all the time. But your dad could pursue somebody else.
Right.
So
You did. Definitely, you definitely gave me a hard time. I think you're just now coming into a phase where you're like, okay, I want you to be happy with another person.
just now?
Yes, it's
I
been
feel
recent.
like 2 years ago.
Oh, I know, it definitely hasn't been 2 years. But what I will say is that I think because as a mom, we're the nurturer, we're the person that loves on you, the child, you're the heart of the home, you create the home. When someone else, an adult male, is like trying to capture that attention, it does shift the dynamics a little bit. And it's not your dad, right? And so instantly you're like, you're not my dad. I don't want that. I have no idea why you all were so different for your dad. Like,
because it's our dad, and it's like there's a different level of comparison. Also, I was young. Like, I was mean to him in a young way. I made him buy me tons of stuff, and I still didn't like him. And it wasn't anything to do with him.
right.
It was the fact of
Your
why
normalcy.
are you dating my mom? Like, that's my mom. You shouldn't even have the privilege of dating her. Like, that's how I saw it. And I did everything to try to get him gone, like, go away.
No, you did everything. You did a lot of things.
Yes.
It definitely, to be very honest and transparent, it was the reason I stopped dating. And it was really hard for me because there was only so much type of, like a certain type of love I could receive from you all. There was only a certain type of love I could receive from my platonic friends. And when you're already questioning yourself and were you good enough to be in a marriage and why did this happen and that happen, you actually need a romantic interest. And literally, you and the whole experience was just overwhelming. It wasn't just you, though. And I just decided that it was just best if I stay single and focus on my home life.
And, you know, I apologize for that because I know I made it really tough for you. But I guess maturing, it's looking back on it, it's like I try to remind myself all the time, you're still going through life the same way I am. And there's things you probably haven't learned and things that I may have learned yesterday or things that you know way more than me upon, but you're still learning.
Right.
And each day is a new lesson. And I feel like I just shut that down when it came to love. Like,
it's a nice way of putting it.
It was like a no-no. But it was interesting trying to open up to like the relationship side of you.
Right.
Because it's different. It's like you don't see your mom in that way. And I have a question though, like how do you feel as though work interfered with like being able to have a relationship?
I think work, if you look at my entire career, I mean, being 22, getting recruited from a #1 company, being recruited for a position I was supposed to have 25 years experience, I had 0, being great at it, growing in it, starting my own company there, work never let me down. Work has, whatever I put into work, I got the full receipt of. And so for me, work became this very selfish thing of like growing without it having like negative impact. I think I was exhausted in life of not being able to understand the outcome, even when my heart was good in it. So with work, it's like the more I give to it, the more it gives back.
And do you see that in maybe a light, or sometimes do you look at it and you're like, well, maybe I want more than just...
Yeah, I think that happened. I mean, I think I was very honest with you when I hiked Machu Picchu, you know, and just, it was 2 weeks before we shut down for COVID. And just sitting up there and praying and just, you know, just seeing how tiny you're in the Amazon and you're on this huge, huge platform of earth that stands out of the bottom of the earth. And you're on it and you just realize how you're just so tiny in comparison to this earth and how it's gonna exist, right? And I think that having that happen and then us being together again as a family, right? Because I think during COVID, that was the first time that we weren't traveling for basketball for Frankie or for work or for my keynotes or for building or for this or a conference, this woman, you know, or me hosting something at the house every time we were home. And I think, first of all, we did get a lot of time together to kind of reset, restore, and really for me to learn myself. You have to understand, Rain, that as an oldest sister, as a young mom, as someone whose father passed away at 21 in college, and then I get Aunt Danielle and Aunt Jordan to be responsible for, my life has never really been about me. Some of it I brought on myself, and then some of it I didn't bring on myself. But the reality is that I never had the opportunity to sit with myself, to grow myself as Monique.
And who is Monique now? When did you realize you finally deserved happiness?
I think it's been an ongoing process. I do think the start of it was my healing process after my divorce, when Aunt Shakira asked me, what do you like to do? And she knew exactly what I was gonna say. And she's like, nah, I don't wanna hear that. Like, I wanna know, what do you like?
And because you were really like, just for you guys to know, my mom was like, schedule. Especially for my brother, because he was in basketball, constantly traveling. I was always at my brother's basketball games. She always tells me, like, I was always there in the gym because she was always on the go. However, she did everything in heels, but
I did.
She was always on the go. And if I didn't see her going around doing something, I would see her in the kitchen, prepping food for my dad. Like, it was always prep. So yeah, I just want to continue.
Yeah, I think I kept myself busy. The more I did for others, the more valid I felt. like the more I felt like everyone knew I loved them. Like all those things that I did, it was out of love, actually. And the more I could show love, the more I was proving that you all should love me, right? The more I cooked, the more I'm like, oh, look, see, I'm supposed to be like, I'm a great wife. The more I did my responsibilities for you all, see, look, I deserve to be a mom. By the way, no one was saying I didn't deserve that. These are just the expectations of overperforming and over qualifying myself for everything that's something I had to kind of deal with. And so when did I learn to love myself? I think this has been a journey. I think that I have fallen in love with myself now. I think I have boundaries with everything, including you all, including my work, including my family. Right now, everything for me is about my wellness and holistic perspective. Like, I have to pour into myself so I can show up for all the other aspects of my life.
Yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate you being so open and honest. Now we're gonna...
But I do want, can I just say this to you?
Of course.
Because I do think it's important that we talked to you. You started with me like asking about my children and like the different parenting styles.
You could ask me questions.
Well, I just want to say thank you because you're my first child that kind of saw me. Like the boys protect me. They love me differently. You taught me that I matter. You, through your behaviors, through the way you celebrate me. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Mommy. I love you.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I was gonna get so emotional.
No, it's okay. Oh, man.
But it's so true because I tell everybody they deserve a daughter. Because you showed me that I matter, and I thank you for that.
Oh, don't make me cry. Don't start. You got the waterworks going on. You okay?
I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry, but it's very true. I started to learn myself when I saw myself, you as a baby. When I was like, okay, this is gonna be different. I'm gonna have to be present differently. I wanted to protect you differently. And then I realized that you started doing that for me as you started getting older.
I'm very protective over my mother. And yeah, I guess in little gestures, I have that trait from you. That's one thing I do know. I have that trait where I love to make people feel like they're loved.
Right, it's the little things. I never really, as much as people think, because of like the lifestyle or whatever, it's like they don't know me because it's like, it's the little things that always matter to me. And so I try to show that that's my love language. It's just those little things. It's the little letters. It's the little details. I thought of you, the food that I cook, I put my heart into it for, the love into it. And I just feel like as my daughter, you kind of like reflected that back to me. And then I was like, wow, I do deserve something different in life.
I think everybody deserves love. And love can be found in so many things. And I think people depend on it upon other people. But I think that love doesn't come to you in a genuine way until you learn to love yourself.
That's the point. And so seeing you love yourself in the way that you do now brings so much joy to me so that you don't have to be like in this stage or go through the things that I had to or grandma had to, before us, and even grandma on dad's side, the women before us,
I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Okay.
They're gonna be fun.
Okay.
You have to answer them fast.
So you should transition to like, okay, we're gonna lighten this up.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you were crying, but it's okay. They should be short answers.
Okay.
If not, as fast as you can. Okay?
Oh, speed round. Okay.
Yes, okay?
Okay.
We're gonna start off. What's my most annoying habit that I don't think you notice?
Your dog.
I know you noticed that. What's the one piece of advice I've ignored that you wish I'd follow?
Hurry up. You take too long.
I get that from you.
No.
Yes, you couldn't even say it with a straight face. Because you didn't know it. We both take the same amount of time. What's something I think I got away with, but you totally knew about it?
Oh my goodness. Your snacks. that you would like, yes, yes.
I used to sneak snacks.
You did.
And I would leave the wrapper. Like, she wouldn't see it.
No, you would hide the wrappers as if I wouldn't find them. But I never, I never wanted to like make you feel bad about that. I just was aware though.
What's your secret mom superpower that none of us kids ever figured out?
Never figured out. Resilience, like just never giving up, making things look so easy.
Okay. What's the funniest tantrum I ever threw?
I don't remember like what store we were in, but you threw a tantrum because you wanted like some bag that was like very, very expensive. And you literally threw a tantrum and then you proceeded to say, I'm calling dad. And that
You said
that was like, yeah, that was a tough one to go through. Yeah. And I was like, I'll call him for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another tantrum. To be honest, Rain, the only tantrum that you would kind of stick to would be when you didn't want to you didn't feel like going to the game, the basketball game, when you were younger. When you were younger.
Oh.
Yeah.
I still went, didn't I?
You would still go though. As long as you could wear your princess pajamas.
Oh yeah, key fact about me. I used to walk around
Everywhere.
Like, no, I'm so serious, everywhere. In princess heels and a princess dress. And a tiara?
Yeah.
Yep. I'd always be done up. What's the fashion choice of mine that made you cringe the most?
Half tops, like the crop tops, the short mini skirts. It's like, ugh, like to the concerts and stuff. It just takes me out. You wore a mini skirt to the concert one time, and it just was like, I was like, oh, please, the guys are gonna think you're older. I was so nervous.
And they did. What's something you've never told me about parenthood until now?
I think you just addressed it, actually. Parenthood is like, I've never put this idea of perfection on myself as a parent. And I don't think a lot of people understood that. And what I mean by that is that I've always given you all the room to make your own decisions within reason, right? And a lot of parents don't do that. I don't think I'm like a perfect parent. I think I'm perfectly trying to discover myself, you all, and allow you all to be you all. I wish more people accepted that and allowed us to like blossom and, grow in that way. But I think you addressed that earlier. I think you actually already talked about that. I do think that we're going through this experience together, right? So.
And then a last question for this. What was a moment where you're like, I knew she was my daughter. I knew she was my child.
Lots of moments. Your negotiating skills. So the first time I was like, wow, this is my daughter, was when you created a whole PowerPoint presentation.
Not once.
No.
Not twice.
I'm saying the first one,
like
though.
5 times.
You were so young. And the fact that you created an entire beginning, middle, end on why you should have this dog and this responsibility and how you were going to take care of it and what it was going to cost, and you actually presented it, I was like, this is my daughter.
And I didn't do it. I did it so many times. I did a Christmas wish list. I did a dog. I did guinea pigs. I did hamsters.
Yes.
That was actually one of the things the boyfriend at the time bought me to try to win my love. It didn't work. But he bought
Who bought
more.
a hamster? I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
Who did you think?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the guy I was dating.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And one time my brother called, Frankie called me and he was like, Rain, your hamster's running around my room. And I was like, I've been trying to look for him.
Oh my gosh, those hamsters. Yeah.
Okay. But as far as that goes, I want to get into the topic of things we wish we knew sooner.
Okay.
A lot of situations where you're like, wow, I wish Rain knew this sooner. I wish I knew this sooner about being a mom, being Monique, being who you are. What's something that you wish I learned sooner, but you had to witness me going through? Maybe just
Friend girl stuff. You know, I've always been honest with you and transparent. Like, I wasn't into hanging out with a bunch of associates. You know, I took the idea of relationships very serious. Pretty much it was me and Aunt Shakira and Aunt Danielle, right? And so it was always for me the quality over how many people can come to a party. And I think that it was really hard watching you, especially in middle school, throw these big parties. And, you know, one week you have this friend group, the next month you have this friend group. I wish you would have known sooner that you were enough. And it was about the actual quality of the relationship.
What Kiana said, quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that goes into my next question of how do you feel about letting others' expectations define who you are?
Yeah, so do you know me?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever really have played into that. Maybe I should have a little bit more, you know? I think that I've always been kind of strong-willed, and I've never fit into a box. I still don't fit into a box. I don't let anyone define me or tell me who I should be, how I should be, what I should be. I think that interpretation is left with no limits. And, you know, so I don't know that that's something I've ever been into.
Yeah, and I guess it's just different because a lot of expectations, it could be just your own expectations, defining who you are as a person, expectations that you didn't expect to be put upon you.
Okay.
Even like you growing up, you had expectations. You had expectations of yourself to be grown, to grow up faster,
Right.
to be more mature, to take everything on. You had those expectations for yourself. And it defined you, defined who you became as a person.
I guess that I had the expectation of never giving up, but also striving for the things that people try to say that we can't have. Or if you have a certain type of background, or if you grew up in a certain community that you shouldn't have access to. So I guess that is I've always had the expectation that I can do whatever I want.
So yeah, I'm pretty much learning how to trust myself again and how to see myself upon other people's expectations upon me and just how I used to view myself. So I want to ask you,
Okay.
what would be a piece of advice to a young woman starting out? Maybe an extremely person who's just career oriented and just goal oriented, is completely focused. Maybe a young woman who's just trying to figure it out. What would your advice be to a young woman if you could just give it to any sort of young woman today?
I think that, first of all, giving yourself the grace to go through this evolution of self, right? I think starting there. I think secondly, the advice that I still give myself every day now is making sure I take time to sit with myself, quiet, to see myself, to hear myself, to know myself, and to start learning that intuition, that thing that you're talking about, so that I can know my voice.
Yeah. And so I just want to say thank you for being so open and honest. It's hard for daughters and mothers to have these
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to get so emotional. You wouldn't tell me what this is about, so.
I wouldn't. That's the key fact. I wouldn't tell her. But, you know, I'm very appreciative of you. I'm very appreciative of you as my mother. And the journey of this is that we're both growing.
Yes.
But I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you.
And that's it on the episode of Motherhood and Daughterhood and everything in between on Today on Rain Check.
Give me a hug. I love you.
I love you more.
I'm proud of you.